My father had laryngeal cancer maybe 15 years ago, had radiation therapy that worked. He was in complete remission, but then as a result of the treatment, the airway was beginning to sclerose, and he was having difficulty breathing. We had tried different interventions that were unsuccessful. And so in October of, I guess it was 21, is when he went in for a total laryngectomy. And so his voice box was taken out, and he now has a stoma for his airway. And so it's been, kind of a year and a half, maybe, learning to live with that change for him and kind of going through that. And, I think, my dad was like, I remember talking to him about this before, because it was a big change losing your voice, and he was so bad with his ability to breathe that he was like, if that's what it takes, losing my voice, like to be able to breathe again, I will. And luckily it's been a kind of total turnaround in terms of his health. Obviously he can't speak, but he's doing much better, which is phenomenal. So we're very, very grateful. It was difficult to communicate, and like, man, so many times, like in that early phase, and honestly still sometimes now, we're having a conversation and you can just tell that like we're not getting it, we're not understanding what he's trying to say, and he gets super frustrated, and then he's like, all right, screw it, I'll just write it down, to like as the backstop. And I think one thing that I probably didn't realize was like, I talk to my parents on the phone all the time. I don't really talk to my dad on the phone anymore. That's just not really an option, right? And so, now we've really moved our communication to text because that's just so much easier for him, which changes the dynamic. For the last, maybe year, a little bit less, he's been doing really well. And I'd say the challenges now are just figuring out how to live with it in his daily life. He has the electrolarynx that he'll use to communicate, and that took a while to kind of get used to. He's much more proficient at that. End of last summer, got a TP valve implanted so that he could begin to speak using that. But that really hasn't worked so well for him. He's had more complications. I think has resigned himself to mainly using the electrolarynx to communicate, or he'll write stuff down as well still. And you can just tell he's frustrated that he can't speak. Even when he does speak, he has to like simplify it down. When he gets angry or something happens, it's difficult to express your emotions when you can't really like speak very well. And so, I think it's like, now that he's kind of over the health consequences of the airway, he's dealing with the, kind of just the social consequences of living without his voice.